In the last episode of Project Scirocco, we reassembled the rear suspension on my 1985 Mark II Scirocco. We attached the fully refreshed rear axle beam to the car, installed new shock assemblies, and replaced the old worn-out stub axles with new ones. In this episode, I move forward to tackle the front suspension. Hey, we're back for another episode of the restoration of my 1985 VW Scirocco. If you've been following my progress, welcome back. I appreciate you supporting the channel. If you're new to the channel, welcome as well. Hey, before we get started, a great way to help my channel grow is to leave a comment if you like this content, or leave 2 comments or leave 20 comments. For this episode, why don't you leave a comment down below and let me know what you drive. Let me know if you've been thinking about restoring a VW or if you restored a VW in the past. Let's help drive the YouTube algorithm to share this content with other people in our community. Also, if you like this channel and you like the content, maybe consider hitting the like button. That would really help me out. Okay, so in the last episode, I finished up the rear suspension, which was part of doing everything I could in the rear of the car. New gas tank, new fuel system, new brakes, new rear suspension. In this episode, we're going to move it up to the front of the car and replace the front suspension. New strut assemblies, new control arms, and bushings. We'll take the stabilizer bar off, send it out for some powder coating, gotta have some powder coating, new bushings on that as well, and then put it all back together. So in previous episodes, I've had some help on some of the projects that we've done. In this episode, in the front, I'm tackling the front suspension by myself.
What?
Basically, it's a fairly easy job if you take it step by step and you've got some common hand tools. Anybody can do it on their own. Just be careful, make sure the car's up on jack stands, it's nice and secure, and you should have no issues. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. I found that some of these are easier to take apart than others. This one came off fairly easy.
Ew.
Alright, so I got the front brake calipers off of the driver's side, and next thing I need to do, or next thing I want to do, is pull the strut off. So I put some penetrating oil on the bottom of the strut housing that attaches to the steering knuckle, and we'll see if we can get these off. It looks like both, at least like this is a 17. I think this is a 17 as well. Yep, all 17. So we'll let that oil settle in there for a minute or two, and then we'll see if we can loosen these up and at least get this part free, and then we'll go up top and pull the whole strut assembly out.
A few moments later.
So it's definitely handy to have a cheater bar around. Front suspension components are usually torqued pretty heavily. Remove the nuts, but leave the bolts in place.
Nuts. As I take all these nuts and bolts and washers off, I've been using these little plastic bags that you can find at craft stores or whatever, just to keep everything in place, and I put a little note in to know exactly where each of these individual parts goes. It's been a pretty good system so far. With the top nuts off, the strut should be free to move. So the control arms are attached two places, one here, the frame, and two, the ball joint, which is pinch weld at the steering knuckle. And don't forget the stabilizer bar. With the nuts removed, the stabilizer bar retaining clamp can come right off.
Nuts.
From the American Home Furniture and Mattress Weather Center.
This report is sponsored by the First Parties today.
Our radio app.
Once you've got the ball joint pinch bolt out, it's useful to use a crowbar to separate the steering knuckle from the ball joint.
All right, I should be able to get in here and pull this out. All right, so here is the rear part of the control arm, and here's the rear bushing right here, and I believe now this should all slide out. Let's see. And there it is. Okay, so there's the passenger side control arm. There's the bushing on the front. You can see it's been covered with leaves for such a long time. There's the bushing in the back. I've got some polyurethane bushings coming for both the rear and the front. And here's the ball joint. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. And there we go. All right, control arm 2 out. This is the driver's side. Boy, that's a bunch of gunk in there. Okay. And during that whole process, the stabilizer beam fell out. So I will pull that out in just a second. All right.
hardware, children's wear, ladies' lingerie.
One eternity later.
Okay, so it has been a couple weeks since I sent these parts out to the powder coater. Got them back once again. Absolute Powder Coating did a really great job. Super happy with all of this stuff. The next thing that needs to happen is I've got, again, some polyurethane bushings for the stabilizer bar and for the control arms, and those need to go on. Here's the poly bushings that go in the mid, and then there's poly bushings that go on the end of the stabilizer bar right here. So I don't know if these are going to go on very easily. Again, they do come with the PTFE silicone bush assembly grease, which I'll make sure to get on the inside. Now, before I slide these on, this bushing that goes in the middle, which also attaches to this bracket, is not symmetrical. So it goes in one way. That's not the way. This is the way. So I've got everything set out the way it was when I took it off. I've got my pictures that I took earlier to make sure that everything is in the right orientation so that when we get back to the car, it's going to go on with no issues. So I think the next thing to do is to slide these bushings on, and then we'll move over to the bushings on the control arms.
Yes! Hell yeah!
Will go. Okay, it looks like I got the first one on. Let's do the second one. Okay, I definitely think that the twisting is the way to go.
That's what she said.
All right, and around the corner. Okay, so we got those mid bushings on with a little bit of effort. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but it wasn't difficult either.
That's just deep, bro. That's deep.
Okay, so there is a clip that goes with this bracket. Bushing, again, sits in here, and this clip will attach on the outside and then come on over, and you need to fasten on there. Let's see, the next ones that we need to put on are on the end of the stabilizer bar. And the bushings I took off, the rubber bushings, actually had a notch that protruded out that made them seat right on here. These PowerFlex poly bushings actually do not. I don't think it's going to be an issue. They're on tight enough. I don't think they're going to move side to side, and even when we get the next clamp on, it's going to be clamped in place. So the next thing is to put these on. Oh, very easy. And two. Okay, so there's the stabilizer bar ready to go. New bushings, powder coated. Looks nice.
Okay, so I went ahead and bought new control arms for this project. I thought about cleaning up the old control arms and getting them powder coated and reusing again, but actually the ball joints on the old control arms were riveted in place, and I would have had to drill those out. New it is.
Bushings.
Once again, PowerFlex poly bushings for the control arms. These are 2-piece bushings that replace the 1-piece rubber. And you'll notice that one side has got a radius and the other side has got a flat. And that corresponds to the swaged part on the control arm and the flat part of the control arm. Once those are lubed up, you just simply press them in and then press in the center metal spacer. And the other control arm bushings couldn't have been easier, just slide it right on. And here they are, a brand new set of control arms complete with brand new bushings and ball joints.
We're putting the band back together.
You'll note that the top hole of the strut mount is slotted. That's to adjust camber, which is the angle that the wheels tilt from vertical when viewed from front or rear as shown here. The slotted hole utilizes a camber bolt, which has an offset washer-like feature, which, when rotated, allows the camber to be adjusted. Normally you'd mark the relative position of the camber bolt and washer at disassembly to get close, but since I plan to immediately get in alignment before any road time, I'm not too worried about getting it perfect.
Alright guys, so that is what it takes to completely refresh the front suspension on a Mark II Scirocco. A totally doable job with just one person. Another person might be a good helper, but you can definitely do it with common hand tools and just yourself. The job went exactly how I expected it to, and I'm really happy with the outcome. If you like this content, maybe think about giving me a like, and if you're not already subscribed, hit subscribe so you don't miss another video. Okay, that's all for this video. We'll see you in the next one.